Hello my loves, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Hi, hello, my name is Loey, and today I'm going to be telling you guys some more creepy, scary stories. You know how much I like to find kind of compilations of scary stories or find some of my own from Reddit, whether it's through like the Ask Reddit question section, or it's like stories on no sleep or let's not meet. I love to just tell you guys scary stories, and I really like to tell a bunch of short ones in one video. Sometimes I just think sometimes the really long ones you get so invested, but also like they can be a little tiring after a while, if that makes sense, paying so much attention to one thing for so long. So I love to tell short scary stories that are super creepy and leave you feeling terrified like every 5 minutes. So this is one from BuzzFeed. I'll have the link to the article down below from BuzzFeed, but this is a pretty creepy compilation, and it starts out with one about a dog who can see spirits, which freaks me out because I swear to you, animals just like know. They just know when like stuff is going down. So this one is about a dog. My dog has a nasty habit of scratching the door in the middle of the night. One evening, she wouldn't stop scratching the door for any reason. After calling her 5 times, I threw a pillow towards the door to make it stop. That's when she barked from right beside me. She'd been next to me the whole time. Oh, that is so freaky. Oh my God, can you even imagine? Like if I heard something scratching at my door, it's kind of like, I don't have any of my animals here anymore. They all live in Georgia full time now, except Morty, who will be coming back and forth with me. But regardless, last night Andrew heard his door slam shut, and like the TV downstairs that I had left on turned off on its own for no reason when it never does that. Like I can't blame those things on other people, but to hear scratching at the door, like, ugh, I hate it. This next one is shadowy figures descending from the ceiling. When I was very little, every night when the lights were turned off and I went to sleep, 2 forms would descend from the ceiling near the doorway into my room. They walked quietly up to my bed, and one stood on each side of my headboard looking at me. I would cover my head with a blanket until one day I had the courage to tell my mother. She put a lamp in my room and told me to pray and ask them to leave. I sleep with a lamp on all night to this day. It's so cool though that her mom like acknowledged it instead of being like, you're being silly, like go to bed, you know what I mean? And her mom told her to pray and like ask them to leave. And I'm glad that they've left her alone, but I'm sad she still has to leave like a lamp on. I have to have lights on when I sleep too. This next one has a photo and it's pretty freaky. One day during a break in class, a friend of mine put his head down and took a quick nap. I took this photo to show some other friends who were in another classroom. When I took the photo, nobody in that room was standing. There was nobody behind me who could have cast a shadow, and there was nobody walking by in the classroom. And in case you can't see, there's very clearly like a shadow person walking by. What's interesting too is there's no definition of the person. Like you can see the like defined features of everyone else in that room, but that's just a shadow person. That's just a solid black mask, no hair, no features, nothing. It's really bizarre. And if that was a shadow, like, I don't know. I feel like it would look different than that. I totally believe that's paranormal and real and really, really creepy. Number 4 is caressed by a spirit. My father died in 1996 when I was 10 years old and my brother was 12. We slept in a bunk bed, and my brother had the upper bunk while I had the lower one. One night, I woke up in the middle of the night with someone softly caressing my head. I thought it was my brother and I ignored it. When I went back to sleep, the feeling returned. I got out of bed to confront my brother, but he was snoring quietly. I went back to bed and the caressing began a 3rd time. I've never prayed so hard in my life. I prayed until sunrise the next morning. Well, like the fact that they mentioned that their father had died, like that makes me think that they think it's their father. I can understand like praying in that situation when you like can feel something like touching you. That one gives me chills, by the way. When you can feel something touching you like that, you know, I can understand being scared. Like there are times when I know that someone that I love is present and it still is a little bit eerie, but I hope that they know it's not a bad experience. It's just someone that they love so much coming back to visit. Number 5 is hands of blood and bone, which is pretty ominous. When I was about 8 or 9 years old, my mother worked nights and we shared a double bed. One day I felt a strange presence in the bedroom. I had my eyes closed, and when I opened them, I saw hands wrapped around the bed from underneath. The hands were made of blood, bone and hanging skin, and they tried to climb up the bed. I turned away and there was a white shadow lying next to me. I managed after a long time to get up and run to my grandmother's room. She didn't dare come back to the bedroom with me. This next one is called, I feel like I can't even commentate on that. Like, there is no like reaction I can give you. Like, that is so freaking creepy. It is unreal. This next one is grandmother's spirit. My grandmother lived with my family during the last months of her life. She died on the sofa in our house one night. The following week, I started to see someone in white passing through the house occasionally, and when I went looking for them, they were never actually there. My sister claimed that she actually saw physical forms. We were terrified for a good while until my sister and I could no longer sleep in our rooms because we were too afraid. My mother prayed, burned the couch in the backyard, and we never saw anything again. I feel like I'm reading a lot of, well, I mean, this is only the second one, but these stories about like family members coming to visit, you know what I mean? And it's not, I guess I don't understand why it's a negative thing, but then again, I'm someone who's so used to paranormal, like stuff like that doesn't freak me out, especially when I know it's someone I love like visiting, like my dad or my grandmother, you know what I mean? So I don't know, but that's just me. I feel like if you guys ever like feel your loved ones around, don't be afraid. It's not like a scary thing, it's actually a really sweet thing, but whatever reaction you have is the right one, you know? 7 is the bearded man in black. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I woke up to a noise in my room. When I opened my eyes, there was a man standing in front of me with a big brown beard, dark hair, and black clothes. I kept looking at him in fear and backed away on the bed until I was up against the wall. Then I felt the mattress sink down beside me and I started to cry. When I looked again, he had vanished, but it still seemed as if there was someone lying next to me on the bed. I asked it to leave because I was afraid, and the bed returned to normal. I have chills, like goosebumps. I cried myself to sleep, and I still remember the man's face to this day. I never met anyone who looked like that, and neither had my parents. Wow. Well, it's good that it left when she told it to you, you know? But can you even imagine like looking beside or looking in front of you and there's like a man standing there, and then like somebody like sits or lies next to you on the bed? This next one is the haunted building. I work in an old building that was built in 1929. Oh my gosh, this one's really long. The space was closed for at least 20 years before we moved in because the previous owner had killed his wife and then himself. We moved in 2 months ago, and almost every day at exactly 12:08 p.m., the bell for the front door rings, but there's never anyone actually there. We've looked at security recordings and everything, and there's never anyone there. The other day I was alone in the office late in the evening. I was on my way out, so I turned off all the lights, closed the windows, and activated the alarm. When I turned to close the door, the kitchen light was on, even though I had just turned it off. Another time I arrived in the morning and the light in the main room turned itself off. I even heard the sound of the switch flipping. The last straw was when I saw someone else's face next to mine in the reflection of my computer screen. No. 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 There was no one there when I turned around. I decided to talk about these things with the building manager's wife, who's lived in the building for several years. She assured me that it's actually pretty quiet in the building these days, and there used to be a lot more strange occurrences, and at least now she can take the elevator by herself. I just laughed nervously. If I saw someone's face next to mine in a computer screen, it would just be game over. I have that intense fear of like windows and like screens, like mirrors, like reflective things at night or when I'm creeped out, because I know like something will be there next to me, you know? If I saw that, I don't know what I'd do with myself. This next one is nightmare time. My mother always complained that she had a lot of nightmares, but she would never say what her dreams were about. One day while we were at the mall, I suggested that she wait in the food court while I was getting our food. When I returned with our meals, she had a strange look on her face, so I asked if she was okay. She said she was fine, so we finished our meals and we left. As we were riding down the escalator, I turned around to talk to my mother, and I almost had a heart attack because standing behind her was a man in old-fashioned clothing, holding one of my mother's shoulders and looking at me with a very angry expression. She saw the shock on my face right away and shouted at me, asking what was wrong. When I told her what I'd seen, she started crying and said, "You just described the man that tries to kill me every night in my nightmares." Whew. So, chills, again, like freaked out. But also that reminds me of the Insidious movie almost, you know what I mean? I think it's because Haley talked about it somewhat recently, or at least I feel like she did. It really freaks me out, the idea of like someone trying to kill you in your sleep that's a ghost or a spirit, because they might be trying to take your body. Pretty freaky stuff, you guys. This is called the Faceless Figure. I think someone's vacuuming the hallway in my apartment building and it scared the crap out of me. When I was 15 years old, I stayed up late watching a TV marathon with my sister. In the middle of the night, after my sister had fallen asleep, I heard the nearby computer mouse start moving by itself. I called my mother into the room and she said it was probably a rat that was pulling the cable from underneath the desk and that I should just go to sleep. Suddenly, I swear, I saw a black figure with no face or human features behind the bookcase. It looked my direction and pointed. I nearly pooped myself with fear. I remember saying, "Who are you? I don't want you in my house. Nobody wants you here. Get out now." The thing left and I actually heard it hit the cabinet just before it went through it. The cabinet began to sway and the door slammed and made a loud bang. Oof. Again, like but I think it's always a good sign when they leave and you tell them to, because they, you know, you're saying it with like conviction and you're telling them to get out and it's not something evil. The next is my possessed friend, which again, super just foreboding. One time my husband and I had some friends over to eat pizza. One of my friends, who has always been very mystical, began to feel ill in the kitchen and excused himself to our bedroom. Once he was in the bedroom, he started to rock back and forth and giggle in a voice that made my hair stand on end. I ran out of the room, shivering with fear. My husband went in to check on him and soon returned, saying our friend wanted to talk to me. I went into the bedroom where my friend walked up to me with his eyes rolled back into his, made a few little grunts and said, "This is my house." Then he knelt and kissed my feet, rubbed his hand on my belly, and motioned as if he was nursing a baby. When he knelt again, the phone rang loudly and he came out of the trance. A month later, I found out I was pregnant, which may explain the gesture he made. My father-in-law had died 8 months before this incident, which might explain the "this is my house." To this day, it terrifies me. Whew. Weird that her father-in-law would come back and do something so freaky though, like a family member. It kind of takes away from the over and over me saying, if it's someone you love, it's a good thing, like it's a good visit, like it makes it not seem as good. This next one is beaten up by a ghost. 4 years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night and there was a woman in a black dress standing beside my bed. When I sat up, she started to accuse me of things that I hadn't done, saying that I had apparently stolen someone from her. I don't know what was going through my head to argue with a ghost, but eventually I decided to ignore her and go back to sleep. She then pulled me out of the bed while attacking my body. She suddenly disappeared and I was so afraid I couldn't get back to sleep. The whole thing felt so real that I was actually sore the next day, especially around my ankles from when she grabbed me, pulling me from the bed. Ooh. That is weird. That sounds like someone who doesn't know that they passed and, you know, is confused. The next one is a devilish joke. I was once playing with a Ouija board in my room with a friend. We decided to light some candles and, as crazy as it sounds, they just wouldn't light no matter how long I held the match to them. After a little while, I managed to light them and we turned off the lights and closed the windows. Out of nowhere, my friend's mother called her, asking if everything was okay with her. Apparently, she felt a sudden pang of worry. My friend calmed her down and we started using the Ouija board, but nothing happened, other than the candle flames moving kind of strangely. Later in the evening, after my friend had already gone home, I felt a sensation of being watched. I ignored it and went to sleep, but had nightmares about being chased by a scary beast with enormous claws. And when I managed to wake up, I saw that my legs were scratched up. I couldn't sleep anymore, so I threw the Ouija board in the trash and slept cuddled up to my mother for the next 2 weeks. And that, my friends, is why I will never play with a Ouija board again. 14 is the shining old man. When I was 13 or 14 years old, I shared a bedroom with my sister and there was a mirror on the wall across from my bed. I woke up to a very bright light one night, as if someone had been shining a flashlight in my face. When I opened my eyes, I saw an old man in a hospital gown with a really long beard in front of the mirror. It was the old man that was shining so brightly. He was putting on a feather necklace and saw me looking in the mirror. I was so terrified that when he started to turn to look at me, I froze. I couldn't call out to anyone because my voice wouldn't come out and I couldn't even move. I closed my eyes and didn't open them again until it was time to get up. I went to school looking like a mess because I went days without looking in the mirror. I never stayed alone in the bedroom again or in a place with any mirrors. P.S. To this day, there's no mirror in my bedroom. That goes back to, like, I feel like humans, we just have like this weird fear of like mirrors and everything reflective because we keep thinking we'll see something that's not meant to be there. like something unnatural. And this is the kind of stuff that just really solidifies it. This next one is called the Black Silhouette. I once spent a weekend at my grandfather's house when I was 8. I was laying on the sofa and went out like a light. When I woke up again, it was already night and I saw the black silhouette of a man sitting on the sofa near my feet, looking right at me. I couldn't see his face, not even a trace of his features, just the silhouette of a burly, bald man. I screamed for my mom and she came to see what was going on. I told her, but she didn't take it seriously, thinking I had dreamed the whole thing. But I know what I saw, and it was very real. This next one is the legend of the Headless Man. When I was a teenager, I had some friends over at my place for a sleepover. That night, in the wee hours of the morning, I woke up to the sound of somebody calling for me. When I opened my eyes, I saw a headless man right in front of the group in front of us. He was wearing slacks and brown shoes. I screamed so loud that it woke my parents and the other girls. The next day, nobody but me really remembered what happened. I still remember it to this day and I'm almost 30 now. What in the world would like someone be doing wandering around without their head? It just must have been like the way that they died, or like, it's a strange way to present yourself though, because as far as I understand, you have like control over how you look in the afterlife, so. Weird stuff. Next one is the Dead Ballerina. Oof. When I was a child, I walked into my bedroom and saw what looked like a Japanese girl in black ballet tights with orange stripes. She was stopped in front of the mirror, looking sideways at me. When I looked again, the girl disappeared, and I ran from the room, making my mother come back with me. Years later, she confessed to me that she had been frightened that day, because before I was born, she had given ballet classes in that bedroom. The black and orange uniform had belonged to a girl that had been a student of hers, who passed away. Oh, but it's sweet, like she was, you know, there. I think it's so funny how these are like the scariest paranormal stories of all time, and I'm just sitting here like, oh, that's sweet. This next one is called the Violent Dementor. One night I suddenly woke up and saw what looked like an apparition, or who knows what, that looked like a Dementor from Harry Potter staring at me. We remained there eyeing each other for a while. Then the being's arm reached out and began squeezing my wrist. I felt a lot of pain and was desperate to get away, but I couldn't. The only thing I could do was close my eyes and sleep. That definitely sounds like something watching her sleep because it wants to be inside of her body. It's freaky stuff. The next one is called Hallucination. One evening, I was alone in my bedroom doing homework. Suddenly, I heard the sound of footsteps coming from downstairs, so I got up to check it out. Before I started down the steps, I heard the sound of bottles breaking in my father's bar downstairs, which went on for a little while. I made my way downstairs, but when I reached the landing, I could see broken bottles and glasses all over the floor, and I could hear people screaming in the house, even though I was the only person home. I locked myself in my room and stayed there until my parents got home. And guess what? There wasn't a single broken bottle or glass, or anyone except for me in the house. Whew, I have chills. That one is so freaky because we used to have a bar at one of my old houses growing up, like a kind of wet bar downstairs, and I just like could like see that in my head, you know what I mean, as if it were me. I hate it. This is called the hand that rocks the nightstand. I had a nightstand next to my bed, and one night as I was laying in bed, the nightstand just started swaying as if someone were rocking it. The nightstand was extremely heavy. There wasn't any breeze, and I wasn't leaning on it. I sprinted out of the room, and to this day, nobody can explain what happened. 21 is the Sinister Funeral. A former teacher I had actually told me this story. When she was about 15 years old, she used to go exploring waterfalls with her friends. It was a Sunday, and they had decided to go to a waterfall that was close to a little farm. They were all walking down the road when a long line of people appeared in front of them, walking away from the farm towards the city. As they approached, they realized it was a funeral procession. I almost said possession, but procession. They passed the procession and they could see it was made up of only men who were all dressed in black. They all had their heads lowered in such a way that it wasn't possible to see their faces. When the group of friends turned to watch the procession go, it had vanished. Imagine not seeing one ghost, not even two ghosts, not even three, just like a ton of men marching away from you, and then they're gone. This last one is called the Ghost with the Foul Mouth. My paternal grandfather passed away, and after the funeral, our entire family returned to the little farm where he had lived with my grandmother because we didn't want to leave her alone. My grandfather was an extremely irritable old fellow who went around grumbling about pretty much anything, including any loud sound or voice or laughter. my aunts and cousins and I were sitting on the veranda talking, trying to dissipate the air of sadness. After an exhausting day, we were ready to laugh a little, but as soon as we did, we heard shuffling footsteps from inside the house and a grumbling voice say, "Shove that yelling up your butt." Exactly how my grandfather did when he was alive. We all froze. It was as if he were actually there. A short time later, my grandmother ended up moving away from the farm. I can understand that though, because sometimes people will linger in their final place of living, but also like their home, you know? So he probably was still living there and wanted people to shut up so he could enjoy his peace and quiet. But I hope you guys enjoyed these stories, and if you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love you all so much, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.